Hello everyone, welcome to the latest episode of Games Up podcast. It's just me this week because it's been an absolutely mental week and asking Lewis to slot into it would have been totally unfair to him. And it's also just me this week because my poor little laptop that I edit the show on is on death's door, and unfortunately recording an hour-long Skype thing and then doing the hour-long edit and then the 4-hour-long export and then I don't know, it's a bit torturous for it. So it might be just me for a bit, or it might be me and Lewis temperamentally, but rest in peace, laptop. RIP. This week is going to be totally different and a little bit special. So usually we start with the gaming news, and there's been some stuff that happened. The Star Wars Battlefront 2 thing went over to massive melting point. The Game Award nominees for Game of the Year came out, and there was some controversy over pubbage. The Golden Joysticks announced their winners. There was the newest hero released for Overwatch, Moira. She's awesome. A review's incoming for her from us, so keep an eye on Facebook. That's Facebook Games Upcast on Facebook and Twitter. But hopefully the big thing happening this week is that you will be prepping for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, the big thing that happens every year where shops drastically reduce their prices, supposedly. But it's also a way that people get all their Christmas shopping in, because there are some really good deals you can find. But that means you have to have your Christmas shopping ready to go. I don't know about you, but I've barely started to think about it. So this week, in a special episode, we are bringing you our perfect nerdy gaming Christmas gift guide. It includes everything from stuff that you can probably walk into a shop on the high street and find, to bespoke handmade stuff that's going to be really specialist, but that you'll have to get on quickly. So let's start right away. So let's start with new consoles. The obvious thing to get somebody who is into gaming is a way to play games, and this year is no exception. In fact, this year is probably one of the best to do it. You have a huge range of options on your plate, and you have a great selection of things that you can give to somebody looking for a new console. You have the opportunities, of course, to buy an Xbox One, an Xbox One S, or an Xbox One X, a PlayStation 4, a PlayStation 4 Pro, or a Nintendo Switch. Now, these can be found in basically any store that sells electronics, and probably any toy store, and certainly any gaming store. So Game, for example, in the UK, GameStop in America, anything like that. But also HMV, Argos, those kind of more high street retailers that are a bit more generic and available everywhere. Couple of things to note on this one. You tend to find that the more additions they have to their name, the better a version they are. So the Xbox One is your bog standard Xbox One. Xbox One S is a slightly better one, and then Xbox One X is the best. PlayStation 4, normal, PS4 Pro, best version. Always double check that, but that usually is the case. Also, if you are going to buy a console for somebody, make sure you know which one they want first. If you're surprising them and you don't know which one they want, obviously a console is an incredibly generous thing with the price of them, and it's going to be received fantastically, I guarantee you. But you are making a thing that they'll play on for a long time to come if they get a real good life out of it. So make sure you get the one they want, because it will make a big difference, because it will be a big thing that they interact with. Also, make sure they don't have one already, or all that kind of jazz, all the kind of stuff you do for a Christmas present anyway. Also, if there are colour options available, you can usually find different ones in different stores. So, for example, in America, you can't buy the Mario Red Nintendo Switch accessories, but you can buy it all as a bundle, whereas here you can get the accessories separate and the bundle separate and all that jazz. Just, if you're thinking about buying a coloured one specifically, have a look around all the stores and shops and online platform and make sure you're getting the best value for what you're buying. Oftentimes people kind of put up exclusive versions of bundles or this, that, the other, and you might be able to get them together or separately for a better price. So have a look around a bunch of places and make sure that you're making the best price and best purchase for your money and the best gift for the person you're giving it to. This year I would recommend Nintendo Switches, Xbox One X's and PS4 Pros. They are either the top of the range in terms of the console, so Xbox One X is the most powerful console now, PS4 Pro trailing just a little bit behind, and the Nintendo Switch is in a ballpark all of its own. The Nintendo Switch bundles you'll get around this time will mostly come with Super Mario Odyssey, an incredibly well-received game, so you can't go wrong with that, and a lot of them will be coloured red as well, so a bit of a fancy edition for you. Probably a lot of people would like that. It won't be hard to find bundles all over the place, so go out and find a console. Now, of course, to go with a console, you need games. And games can come in all sorts of forms. Physical games, which you buy in-store, in boxes, in discs, or digital games. They get a bit more difficult, and we'll talk about them in a second. If you do have somebody who loves gaming, consider buying them a game for Christmas, and you can't go wrong with some of the best titles this year. Those titles include The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, which came out much earlier this year, but if you're looking for something a bit more recent, you might want to look into, for example, Assassin's Creed Origins, South Park The Fractured But Whole, still gets me every time, Wolfenstein The New Colossus, and they are your biggest ones at the minute for Xbox One and PlayStation 4. And then if you're buying for a Switch user, you might want to look into Super Mario Odyssey, which I discussed a second ago, or Doom, which is one of the latest additions to the platform and is being received really well. You can buy those games physically in basically every high store retailer that, again, does toys, games, or electronics. But digital games are a slightly different thing. Digital games are games that you buy a digital copy of, so you don't install a disc at any point. You just get the files you need to play them on your console. Certain games can be bought digitally directly. If you go onto Amazon, for example, you can buy digital codes for those games that you hand over. And you can hand that over in a card, for example, that you can write it down in, or you can maybe print a little thing out and you hand the code over to them instead. You can also buy digital currency, i.e. £50 of PlayStation, Xbox or Nintendo credit, and they can then use them to purchase the game directly. So for the Nintendo, you have the Nintendo eShop, for PlayStation, you have PlayStation Network, and for Xbox, you have Xbox Live. These basically have every game that's major and released on disc, and a bunch of games that aren't major and aren't released on disc, ready to buy and on demand there and then. If you want to buy somebody a digital game, maybe you want to buy it for them in a different country, or maybe they don't have a lot of storage space for discs, maybe they just prefer digital. I personally prefer digital. I find it a lot easier and a lot less cluttering. I would recommend going down the digital currency route, because that allows them to make the purchase through their account, and there are sometimes benefits for doing that. But you can buy a game code directly, so if they do prefer digital and you want to buy them a game, there's definitely ways you can go about it. Games are what this hobby is based on. It's what every gamer and loads of nerds away from gaming love doing. So you can't go wrong with a good game, and those are two great ways to go about giving them. But there's far more to buy around gaming as well. So we'll move on now to accessories. Sometimes it's the accessory around the game that people really want. Let's start with younger gamers. It sounds a bit generic, but with younger gamers, you can't go wrong with Minecraft. Firstly, it's an incredibly cheap game that gives a lot of value, and it's played by so many young people that the chances are you know somebody who likes it. With Minecraft, you can get all sorts of stuff like toys. They do a range of hard toys and cuddly toys that are really, really nice, frankly. As somebody who's a fan of the game, I kind of like them as well, to be honest. But then they also do some more interesting stuff like room decorations. They do some decals that you can put on walls. They also do a couple of lighting things like little touch light up blocks that can be quite nice on tables or table decoration. And they do some lamps that you can attach to a wall that are in the shape of a torch from the game, so it can look quite authentic. If your kid really enjoys Minecraft. These things are usually reasonably priced for what they are. If your kid or the kid you're buying for has an interest in Minecraft, they'll almost certainly go down well. Additionally, if you want something a little bit further up the scale, Microsoft released a Minecraft Xbox One this year. I'm not suggesting you buy your child an entire console, but they also released a Minecraft version of the controller from it, which has a skin of one of the characters. If your child likes Minecraft and owns one of those consoles, an extra controller might be a really nice big present for them this year, and a Minecraft special edition of that will go really well. But you also can't go wrong with a good bit of tech sometimes, but you don't want to burst the bank on somebody so young. This is where a good pair of headphones can come in. Headphones are great for people who are really into gaming because it can make the audio in a game super immersive. If they own a console, they'll likely own a controller that they can plug a pair of headphones into, unless they have the original version of the Xbox One, worth bearing in mind, but they'll probably have a controller that they can plug a pair of headphones into, so it's not clunky to operate, and they'll probably know how it works. But it can make a game super immersive. It won't be too expensive. There are some nice options you can have that I'll name in a second, and it can also give you, the parent or the guardian or the mature adult buying the present in this situation, the control of whether they have a microphone. For a lot of parents and guardians, the most worrying thing about gaming for a young person at the minute is online multiplayer games where they can come in contact with all sorts of different people. If you're buying a pair of headphones for them as a present, you can control whether they have access to a microphone or not, and therefore whether they have the option to interact with these people or not. If you want a good pair of headphones without a microphone, you can look at regular headphone brands. Personally, I like the headphones made by Orange, the amplifier company. I edit these shows on Orange O Edition headphones. They cost a lot of money, don't go for them. But they make headphones that are similar and a lot cheaper, and they're very good. I also quite like Skull Candy headphones. I'd say they go really well, and they look quite cool as well, so a younger buyer might really like them. If you want to burst the bank on headphones and want really good ones, look towards the Orange O Editions or Sennheisers, that kind of thing. But you can't really go wrong with a good pair of headphones, as they're multi-use, and those won't have microphones on them. So you get great audio. They can use them for all sorts of applications. They can plug them into PCs, iPods, if they still have those, phones, tablets, that kind of jazz, and get great audio from gaming out of them whilst not having a microphone. And if you're looking for more gaming-centric stuff with a microphone, then there's stuff like the Astro A10s, which come in at $60, probably somewhere around £50. Astro make amazing gaming headphones, and you can't really go wrong with them with a pair of Astros for 50 quid. Or somewhere near there. That's a great price. And then you've also got stuff like the Logitech G430s, the Turtle Beach Ear Force 50p, I think that's the name of them. You can't go wrong with a bunch of good brands like Turtle Beach, Logitech, or Astro, and they often do a slightly more budget version, which might be great for a younger gamer. So a pair of headphones is a great piece of tech that you can get for a young person who's really into games that won't bust the bank and will also give you a little bit of control over what they do as well. But if you're looking for a more mature gamer, there are some great options that you have available. I personally would recommend room decoration. I'm at the stage of my life now where I'm kind of pretending to be an adult, and so as a result, I have a space that I have to make my own. But I like to do that with nerdy things, and I know there's a bunch of people around my age range or newly into student living who are making their spaces their own or moving into their first houses, or people who are in similar situations that would love this kind of stuff. So, for example, Overwatch this year have released an Overwatch loot box cookie jar. Now, if you're a super gamer and the whole loot box thing puts you off, sorry, but it's awesome, it's so cool, it's beautifully detailed, and it's the perfect kind of thing that can fit into a kitchen, or the perfect kind of thing that can be like a centerpiece jar on a living room table or something like that. And it's also a great way for you to go, hey, I really like this thing, but it's not overly immature, and it's a nice way to just make your space a little bit more homely. There's also a Portal Companion Cube cookie jar, and you can find nerdy cookie jars all over the place. So kitchenware like that is a great option. If you're looking for something specifically a bit more retro, but equally mature, this is going to sound odd, but might I suggest some of the surprisingly nice homeware from Crash Bandicoot. You might not think it from this quite immature franchise, but some of the Crash merch is very nice. For example, Crash Bandicoot mugs, which are in the shape of the boxes from the game, so they're square-shaped, so they stand out a little bit more. They stack really easily. The detail on them is absolutely lovely, but they're also going to be the kind of thing that's not going to make people think this person is a 12-year-old, although you secretly are. There's also a lovely pin set that Crash Bandicoot do, and if you're looking for something a bit more jokey, there's a set of Crash Bandicoot scented candles as well. I don't want to imagine what that marsupial would smell like. But maybe you're looking for something equally mature, but more major, more bespoke, or more personalised. Project Triforce is a great place to start looking. They do amazing sculptures, amazing collector's pieces, amazing mantelpiece pieces, amazing room centering pieces. I can't really think of more words to describe them. And they're actually not badly priced for what they are. They do replicas of all sorts of things from games, so they can do replicas of scenery, of characters, of costumes from games that are done as statues and sculptures. They can sometimes be absolutely huge and incredibly well detailed. There's bits of them all over the place on the internet that you can look at to see the kind of detail they do. And if you're looking at some of the more entry-level stuff, they're actually not badly priced at all. So if you wanted to make a sort of mature but major purchase for somebody who's super into games this year, Project Triforce isn't a bad way to look. And then if you're looking for something a lot more personalised, a lot more handmade, I have two recommendations for you. Firstly, beacon candles. I came across beacon candles at Birmingham Comic Con much earlier this year, and I love some of the stuff they do. They make handmade scented candles based on games or locations from games. So, for example, they do one from Hanamura from Overwatch, but my favourite one they do is Anor Londo from Dark Souls. It starts off as this beautiful golden candle, and the longer you burn it, it becomes darker until it gets to the point of black, and it smells more and more ashy. Now, if you're just listening to this as somebody who's making a purchase for a game, and that probably won't mean much to you, but if you've played Dark Souls, that's an incredible idea for just a scented candle. They're super imaginative. When I met them at Birmingham Comic Con, they were super friendly. I got in touch with them for the purposes of this show to let you know that if you are interested in buying from them, the last order date that they have before Christmas is the 20th of December, and for international people, it's the 13th of December. So you still have time to buy some stuff from them if you're interested, and we'll have a link to them in the description of this podcast. And finally, and I cannot recommend his stuff enough, Phoenix Copper Art do amazing handmade journals. They have copper front plates that are hand engraved with designs, and you can hand them a design as well and have them make it. They also have leather journals and bound journals that have artwork or designs on the front of them that are absolutely gorgeous, and they make copper bookmarks as well. They are absolutely jaw-droppingly gorgeous. I bought one when I was 13, I think, at a Comic-Con in Birmingham over a decade ago, and it's still going strong with me now. I still use it on a very, very frequent basis. It's beautifully made, and I'm going to get in touch with him at some point in the future to make another one, because I love them so much. They are fantastic, and they are such a beautiful present for somebody. If you are looking to get them something that's really thoughtful and homemade and that you've really put time into, you can hand him a design and he'll make the journal from you. I've done it for Lawrence. I will do it for Lewis at some point, and I'll do one for a lot of the people that I love. They are fantastic little things. Cannot recommend them enough. Quick caveat to this though: because they are handmade and because they take so much time, unfortunately at the point I got in touch with Phoenix, the last order date for Christmas has passed. So you could still buy somebody this for Christmas and tell them that it will be a little bit delayed, or you could look into it at some point in the future when you need to buy gifts, or next Christmas if you're planning that early ahead. But they are beautiful things nonetheless, and again, links will be in the description for their work. On a more general tone, you can't go wrong with certain websites like ThinkGeek, who have an amazing range of collectibles, an amazing range of nerd accessories and gaming tidbits, and just great stuff that will spark your inner nerd a little bit. And then also look at the websites or merch sites for specific games. So if somebody you know loves Overwatch, look at the Overwatch specific merch site. There'll be some great stuff on there. And you can't really go wrong with just a game. People love that as well. So hopefully we've given you some ideas as to the kind of things you might want to be buying for people this year as we get closer and closer to Christmas, and hopefully you have time to look at them perhaps as Black Friday approaches. Thank you very, very, very much for listening to the show. Hope you have a good Black Friday and Cyber Monday. If you do get anything good, either that we've recommended or just that you generally found, feel free to drop it into the comments of this video so that other people can pick up the same wonderful deal, or on our Facebook page, which you will find at facebook.com/GamesUpcast, and we're the same, Games Upcast, on Twitter. If you really like this show, we love a like, maybe so that a couple more people will get to see our gaming gifting guide, and that way they can make the right purchase for their gamer for Christmas. And if you really, really liked it, feel free to subscribe as well. We publish this show every Monday at 6:30 p.m. on YouTube, and much, much earlier that day on iTunes, so that you can catch it on your way to work. That's all from me. Thank you very much for listening, and until next week, see you then. Happy Black Friday, if that's a thing, and the game's up.